There we are. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, hello. Yeah, you can't really see, and it's really annoying. Oh, hang on. Look, you can see I've got my cat, and I've got the hint of a road, and it is cars in the photo, but I didn't want them. So I've drawn the circles of where each light is, and I've drawn a sort of silhouette of a row of rooftops and chimneys down that side. They're not in the photo. I had to make it up because it's cars. Hello, Diane. Sunny and mild where you are. Well, it's not sunny, but it's not. It's not cold.
It'll probably save a bit of time. My cat is just getting
Yeah,
the right
Jackie.
spot, isn't it? Yeah.
It's. I would say it's fairly mild. Yeah, even if you just trace the cat and the curb, and circle where the street lamps are, that'll be useful. Now, will iTunes work today for my bird song? So I've only got one more normal class this week, which is tomorrow. And then I've got a class on the Friday evening, and then that's it until January. Oh, Mr. Blackbird, that's very loud. So if I keep my torch on, you can kind of see the cat, the curb. You can't see the lampposts, so I'll have to just like... Yeah. I mean, we'll make it up. I just thought this was quite interesting. I've been dying to do this for years. Yeah, it is. There's a little bit of purple in the road, so we'll kind of make it up as we go along. But if you've got black paint, you can touch up anything that goes wrong. But I'm hoping to not paint the cat. Keep him and his shadow black. Well, I've got the road that goes up a bit more, look, and then I goes a bit further than his head. No, when I was thinking about this, I thought the cat was bigger, and then I saw the photo this morning again, and I thought, oh, but actually, it will be wonderful. We did something similar last night. Jackie, can you pass it me? We did it in gouache, and we did a stained glass window and a Christmas tree inside a church. You know, so it just so it's again what we don't paint, rather than what we do paint. So it was good. I'm trying to work out which is the... I've got the highlight, I've got the torch on the cat, so you can see him facing away. I think you might enjoy this.
Oh, we'll see.
Are
I'm sure there'll be a few frustrating moments.
you painting live with us, Diane, or are you watching now, paint later? I nearly had this one for a Halloween lesson, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to just do it for the last class of the year. Live. Ooh. Are you laughing?
No, that's what you thought.
Oh, yeah.
Do it for the last one of
Do it for the
year.
last lesson. Because I want to paint it anyway, and I don't get time to paint things I want, so I think if I do what I want occasionally in the class... But Paul, we've worked really, because you know our accountant died just before the end of the tax year this year, gone, and he was our accountant for 13 years, so I've never had to do any accounting, and he died just before the end of the tax year, so we had like 7 or 8 hours on the phone to HMRC to work. What do we do about Jackie's wages? How do I do it as me? So we've gone through all of that. We tried to find a bookkeeper, but they wanted £700 a year just for Jackie's wages,
Yeah, that was
just for your wages. Then over £1,000 a year up front for the bookkeeping. And I went, I can't. The irony is, if they looked at my accounts, they'd know I haven't got 1,700 spare. So we've got we've purchased a monthly fee of Sage Accounting. And it cost me £8 a month for her wages, and it cost me £27 a month for the accounting. They don't file the accounts. We haven't used it to its full extent because we don't really understand it. But last Friday, we filed our accounts. We've done it. No. Thankfully, I was digging around and I found a USB stick in the boxes that I bought back from the accountant, from his wife, and he'd left copies of the former tax returns, so we could go down column by column and just say, have we got something similar, what have we missed and what have we done. The sad part is he offset it last year because he thought we weren't sure how things would go, and because we offset, we didn't pay anything in advance. And the problem for that is that this year we've got to pay more because there's nothing to, balance it out. But we can almost afford it, and I'd rather pay tax than not pay tax. I said to Jackie, I don't mind our payments being more this year because at least it looks like we're not trying to fiddle.
Well, that's it.
It doesn't just look like that.
We're not fiddling. We aren't fiddling.
Happy, they're okay.
Exactly.
They can go back 12 years.
Yeah. I mean, we're not fiddling. I don't know how to fiddle it. But now we've done it, I said to Jackie, if we can go through it... Hello, Trish. If we can go through it monthly, and now I've only got 2 Tuesday classes of acrylics a week in the new year, I can spend a whole day Tuesday in a month doing the accounts, and keeping up to date. And then if I can file it in May or June, then it means if I do owe more tax, I've got more time to save up for it, rather than what's happened before is that we're always last minute, as most people are, and I send it the accountant in December and he gives it us in January, and then I have to pay January the 31st, and if it's a really high bill, I haven't got anything. I save £100 a week for tax, which on our tiny business is usually enough. Hello, Rosemary. Let me put the torch on again so you can see where the cat is. So I've got the cat, the curb, the horizon, a sort of silhouette of houses, but that's optional, and the circles where the lampposts are, and a hint of lamppost for the first 2 or 3. But this is quite a, like last night's class, Rosemary. You'll be glad that the drawing class is just a snowy scene tomorrow, which is just going to be mainly white paper. But I've been desperate to do this picture for years, and I've been thinking, I'll have to do it. I'll have to try and make time to do it. And I haven't. So I thought, you know what, blow it. I don't normally do classes this week in the year. we normally stop on the Friday. And I thought, since we've got an extra class, maybe I'll persuade everyone to do it. And I've only got one in the class. Poor old Paul. Everyone else is miraculously... Yeah.
So we had
The fire eater, yeah. Anything that's mildly tricky, everybody abandons us in real life. Well, you know your game. But I just thought this is quite sweet. It's I had got an idea to have this on Halloween because it's quite spooky with the black cat, but we're doing it today instead. Hello, Christine. Oh, yes, happy Christmas. Oh, dog sitting. Probably wise not to paint while you're dog sitting, isn't it? Right, I'm going to turn my torch off. Because you can make this up as you go. Oh, I'm taking the camera. Oh, do you know what I was going to do? I was going to try and do a time lapse of this. Really funny. On Saturday's oil class when we did Judi Dench, I wanted to do a time lapse, but stupidly I pressed slow-mo, so it actually meant I ended up doing a 2-hour slow-mo. Yeah, it used all of my memory up on my phone. I looked at my phone, I thought, why have I got no memory? This is ridiculous. And then I looked in the I looked at the speed thing, and I thought the time lapse, and I thought, oh, that's going really slow. Why is it taking that long for me to draw a line? So I've ended up trying to do a speed version of the slow-mo version, because I'm forever typing in the wrong button. So today I'm going to do a time lapse of this. Because I think it'll be quite a good one to do. I think every 3 seconds it takes a photo. So that means a 2-hour class gives me 25 seconds. But then what I do is I go on an editing suite and slow it down to a minute, which is really fast. But to be honest, when I do these on classes, I like it to make it so people can appreciate it, but not get all of the information, because I want them to come to the classes.
Yeah.
So I have got a time lapse of Judi Dench to do. I'll show you my Judi Dench while you finish the sketching. Yeah, it's not perfect, but in 2 hours, when you're trying to convey a 600-year-old way of painting and do a portrait. Yeah.
But she's
So
got
that's
the ideal skin tones to do that.
She has, absolutely. Yeah. So that's my Judi Dench 2-hour portrait.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Right, I'm going to start the time lapse now. She's still a bit wet. So that's all right. It was a good morning. There was about 5 people. Weirdly, it was the only Saturday class that I've run this year because we couldn't get enough people to do it. Pre-pandemic, we used to do full day classes with lunch provided.
You can do days out anywhere then.
No, because I'm stuck here now. I haven't got there's only Jackie as my staff. I used to have 2 members of staff before. But we do a full day, like a 10 till 4 class with lunch provided and all materials provided for 55 quid, which I didn't think was too bad. But then after the pandemic, we struggled to get any of those running, so I reduced it from 10 till 4 to 10:30 till 2:30. Struggled to get that, so I reduced it to a normal length class and a 2-hour class, and we've only run 2, I think, this year. And then everyone in the oil class was like, are we going to do more Saturday classes? Well, not really. I said what I might do is do random ones that aren't advertised,
That's probably the best
and
thing.
it feels like it's more special then.
Yeah.
Because we get lots of people saying, "Oh, we'd love you to do a class on such and such." So we put on a class of such, and then nobody comes.
Well, it's the sort of thing to be cancelled anyway, because I'm going somewhere this weekend, and then
Yeah.
you've lost people, you know.
So we'll do special ones, and it'll probably be more oil related because that's the only class that we don't fully cover. We only do one a month with that.
Yeah.
Diane's drawn. Rosemary, are you drawn-ish? I do feel for you, Rosemary, having to do what we did yesterday evening with the Christmas tree. And now this. You'll be the... I loved your picture, though, that you posted. The photograph turned out really nicely. I've animated mine, and I'll post it up closer to Christmas Day. I've put some twinkly lights and some rays of... like, you know, that mist that with the light through a window, you get that sort of misty bit, and a church choir and some church bells. It's only a 12-second animation. It's very simply done, but I really
Yeah, most people do.
well, it's because social media pushes videos.
Yeah, we've got no end of it.
Yes, I know how hard it was to photograph. I ended up under the table photographing. When you photograph black paper, it turns grey, it doesn't go black. Yeah, and on my iPhone I was able to turn off something where it's a flash for the night time, because it does like night vision. I turned that off, went under the table, took a photograph, and then I had to edit and intensify the black, reduce the brightness, intensify the saturation to get to get it to look like what I wanted.
It's usually reflection, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, it's amazing, really, with black paper. It's not actually black. There's a wonderful guy, Stuart, I can't remember his last name, British, and he's invented the blackest black paint, and it was called Black 3.0, but he's improved it to Black 4.0. I've got Black 3.0 at home, and in fact, this dragon is painted with it. Well, it reflects 90% light. So if you consider that is black,
Oh yeah.
you know, if I can't put it close. Hang on, I can put
I
this
can see
black
the difference in the
paper.
two anyway.
This black paper,
Yeah.
it looks grey compared because of the way it catches the light. This does not catch the light at all. So if you paint that on the floor, it looks like a hole because it won't reflect the light. And Black 4.0, it's expensive because it's artist quality, but he
Like
paints.
the Japanese used to write with.
Yeah, he paints. He makes Stuart Semple, and shops aren't allowed to sell his work because of he's got a special condition on when he manufactures. Only he's allowed to sell it, because I would have loved to sell some of it, because he's done the bluest blue, the pinkest pink, the brightest white. No, I can't buy it, Rosemary. You can only buy it from Stuart Semple online. But it is amazing stuff. I've only got a small tub of it, and it cost me quite a bit during lockdown. When I was doing those paint just before lockdown. And I messaged him to say, "Oh, we're an art shop. We're an indie art shop. We're quite niche. We'd love to sell your products." And he was like, "Really sorry, I can't sell it to any shop," which was sad. But you know, I totally get it. Right, now, we're not going to be painting a lot, but it will feel like we're doing a lot more work than if we were painting everything. It's one of those things. So I'm going to go with a medium flat. I'm hoping that they've got very loud Christmas music on downstairs. I'm hoping it's not that loud that it picks up on the camera, because if it does, it will stop me from broadcasting live, because it'll tell me I've
Oh, I see. Yeah, well, the
from in the cafe, because it's sort of
noise cancelling.
well, yeah. I mean, the microphone is noise cancelling, but if I'm playing copyright music, I get flagged, and it can affect my monetization, which is quite frustrating. Oh, they do everything. I mean, it's amazing how these things work. Although I've been flagged from Russia for breaching copyright on a song called La Minuit de Silence. I've never heard of this song, but I've never played it. So there's something in the bird song that we're singing that's got the same rhythm that the AI is picking up.
Say that's the original anyway, but then they could, Russia could easily be a scam.
Oh, absolutely.
I want some sort of royalty or
I know. You glad I came
I
around?
am. Right, so I'm going to go with my little brush and go with some blue and red. We're going to make the tarmac colour and a tiny bit of white. We don't want much of this because it's all going to be a glaze, and we want the black to show through. In fact, we could add an extra bit of black. So blue, red, tiny bit of white, little bit of black. So it's kind of like a purplish colour, and we're going to make it into a glaze. Now I'm hoping this will show up. Does that show? Oh, it does. It shows up too much, which is good. So I'm going to go around my cat. Things that you never thought you'd say. And around where the cat's shadow is. Now this is going to be subtle, and it may mean that I've got to do this again. You could wet your paper first, but I think this will be okay. You know what? I'm going to keep this. I'm thinking, do I go lighter or not? Oh, that doesn't look like a cat's bum. Have I mixed up enough? Of course I haven't. Is it dark enough? It's too dark. I need, oh, see, now it's dried. It's disappeared, so you can't see, and you'll all be shouting at your screens, and Paul will be spattering me. So I'll go with a bit more white. And very, very dilute. So we're basically turning it into a watercolour type.
So what area am I doing?
So this is your road.
Go around the cat.
Go around your cat and around the cat's shadow. I'll try and put a yellow glow on this when we get round to it. At the top by the street lights. But it just concerns me how it's drying much darker than I want it to, and I know it's because I'm adding water and it's changing. But I don't mind if the bottom part of the picture's dark, because that's like seeping away from the light, isn't it? It's if and I still haven't mixed up enough. Jackie, what's the matter with me? Why can't I paint today? It is my job. I know. Well, I can paint. I'm just not. I'm being too stingy. And you've given me a lovely dollop of paint that'll last 23 paintings for the way I'm working with this today. And yet I'm still stuffing up. That's going to be too bright now. You can always dull it down with a bit of water. Yeah, last night students were frustrated, going, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, I can't see what I'm doing or where I'm going. Don't give him permission to smack me. Paul's one of the least violent students I've got. Aren't you, Paul? You're one of the...
Try anything, you know.
Well, I
It can
think...
be a disaster, but I think it's all good learning.
It is good learning. It is a good learning curve, you're right. I used to have a student, Tony, who we don't see anymore because he got quite old and quite infirm very quickly before lockdown. And
You were only 50.
he used to
You're joking, like.
he used to say to me, oh, I always come to the classes I think I won't like, because I always learn far more.
Yeah, well, I believe in that.
Always learn far more because I'm paying more attention, because if I can already do it, I don't need to listen. Thank you, Jackie. If you could put my sign up and turn me bits off.
Oh, okay.
See you in the morning. Did you just say to Moz?
Yeah.
How very trendy.
Sounds.
So, enjoy your hollybobs.
Happy Christmas.
And you, Merry Christmas.
It doesn't feel Christmassy yet, does it? I don't
always
think.
find that, but I always enjoy the day. I think I find the build up a bit of a nightmare sometimes.
Well,
when you know when it all comes.
Yeah.
Together, it's quite enjoyable.
Well, I'm driving 70 miles up and yeah, but I'm only stopping for the day this year, and because I haven't really got room, and I don't fancy sleeping in the dining room amongst the dogs.
No.
Just for the sake of having a drink. I mean, when I visit them, I go up and down in a day, so it's not going to be any different. And it's my first day off in 2 months, so I really want to make sure I'm back in my bed. You know.
I don't blame you.
Because we're not open between Christmas Day and New Year's Day. I mean, it's only a 5-day thing.
Yeah.
I'll still be working from home doing
It's
stuff.
hard to dash around these days. Well, it might be my age as well, but there's so much. Everywhere's so busy now as well.
It really is.
Takes
Yeah.
the edge off a lot of travel.
Yes.
A lot of the visiting.
Well, I also like travelling. I've got my sat nav set to no motorway.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
avoid the motorway, because I like going the back way.
So do
From
I.
here to the West Midlands, it's quite nice because it takes you through Gaydon and Warwick and
Yeah. I always go to the Isle of Wight a couple of times a year because it's they've got no motorway. It's
No.
an old-fashioned road. And it's a bit like going back in the park. You know, it's easy to get there. and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I find when I'm doing gigs and things and I'm travelling late and it's been a long day and I'm on the motorway, I find that really quite sleep inducing because
Yeah.
it's the same
Yeah.
same speed, same rhythm, same views. But
Yeah.
if you're going on normal roads,
No.
you're having to change junctions and
It's more
speed
interesting,
limits.
Isn't it? You could go around bends as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
It's
that's why the Americans always had so many accidents when they came.
it keeps you alert, and also on Christmas Day, if I do break down, I can pull away easier, or if there's detours, I can go round them. I enjoy not going the motorway. And you know what? When I went up to the West Midlands not so long ago on the non-motorway way, it only gained like 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It wasn't that much quick. You know, didn't take that much
It's a
longer.
different mindset as well.
Yeah.
No, I think it's quite beneficial if you're going down to the bottom end of Cornwall or somewhere like that because you.
Yeah.
in
I
the
mean,
old days,
it's
it'd take me 10 hours.
it's
to-
quicker,
Yeah.
but you don't see as much, do you?
No.
I think the
Really
journey's
nice
just
time,
as
yeah.
important as the
Yeah.
destination. When I went to Wales this year, I went the non-motorway way. Oh, and it was absolutely beautiful because
Yeah.
it took me that way, westwards from here. All the back roads down Edge Hill and all of that way towards Herefordshire and
That's lovely, isn't it?
and it was really lovely. So much better than the sterile motorway.
It is, yeah.
And far more toilet stops.
Yeah, and Wales in the old days, you had some places where you almost ran out of road,
Yeah.
Basic, but
I really enjoyed it, so I'm going to make that my default now. Every time I go anywhere, I'm just going to avoid the motorway and just allow extra time.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave a gap for the curb and just put on an even more dilute wash of this purple for the pavement because I want the cat to stand out. But we've still got the glow of the lights to put on. Yeah, with the glow of the lights are the more yellowy turns. But if we've got a little bit of this purple on. And in fact, what will happen, and it won't happen necessarily visually on your, depending on what you're using, because we're on watercolour paper here, because I didn't have time this morning. I've been, although I've finalised the, Oh, this is called Van Gogh watercolor paper, and it's quite expensive, but it's really heavy.
Yeah, it's in some ways it's better because the cloth paper it sometimes too absorbent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For what we're doing today, I thought this was better.
Yeah.
But because we're painting on watercolor paper in this classroom, where we've not painted, it reflects the light in a slightly different way. So in real life, it's going to look different to what you see on the screen, but it's kind of working at the moment. I don't know if I need to soften that shadow. I think I need to put a wash on it, just so it's there, but not as strong as the actual cat. I was singing at Primrose Hill Farm on Sunday, Paul. Up near not Alkerton. Is it Alkerton? No. Up by Ratley.
Oh yeah.
It's
of course you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's a wedding venue, but it's been doing a lot of Christmassy
it's
stuff.
It's a nice area, that is.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I was there. It's a big restaurant and bar, but there were 10 tables that had booked afternoon tea. So I was singing Christmas songs to them, but the rest of the restaurant could sort of hear and the bar could sort of hear. But the flipping sat nav sent me in the opposite direction. It sent me towards from where I live in Wardington. I thought, well, I'll just go William Scott, Cropredy, Mollington, then I'm there. But this time it sent me up towards Chipping Warden, and I thought, oh, maybe it's found a faster way. No. Then it sent me down a dirt track that was as wide as the car with potholes as big as these tables, and it said turn left, so I turned left. Then it added an extra 15 minutes onto my journey, and I didn't know why. And then it sent me down a lane that I could see 100 yards ahead. It was all gated because it was a private track, so I had to try and turn around. And then it ended up sending me to Cropredy, where I only lived next to. So I did a 15-mile trip. I was late for my gig. And it really made me so stressed for the start of the show.
Yeah, some of these sat navs, my wife's car, she used a sat nav on the car. You go down every minor track there is.
Yeah.
I've seen places I've never seen before.
Well,
in my life.
This is Google, and I use the Google Traffic, Google Maps sat nav all the time, and I've never. But the last week or two, it's gone offline while I've been trying to drive, and then.
It's not quite as good, is it?
No.
A few years ago,
But someone said we've had really bad solar flares this week. And last week, and it's been affecting a lot of electrical stuff. So maybe I'm gonna put it down to that. I'm just gonna give this a blast because I can't really tell what it's gonna do. Yeah, I need to knock back that shadow a little bit more with a bit more of that purple glaze. Because I don't want it to be as deep as the cat, because I want the cat to be the blackest. That'll work. But we have got the light glow to put on it later on, so that's going to make a huge difference. Huge. But also, why I wanted to ramp up the purple is because purple and yellow are complementary colours, so it should make everything stand out a bit more. That's my theory. So yeah, drawing class tomorrow is the last official class of the year. Then I've got a massive paint-along, sing-along session in the town hall on Friday night with 50 people.
In the actual
I booked the actual town hall because we normally do them in the cafe, but we can only really fit 16, 17 downstairs, and we're already on 22.
Is that a private function?
It's one of our normal classes, but we do these paint and prosecco nights a month. And last year I tried paint along a sing along a Christmas scene, and we did 2, and they were really popular. So we do a bit of painting, sing a song, a Christmassy song, and then do a bit more painting, have a drink, and it's good fun. So we had that many people booked on for the 22nd. I said, oh, do you know what? I'll hire the town hall, and then I realised how expensive it was. It cost me like 150 quid for the evening, 120 quid. So I thought if I book a few more people on, then that'll offset it. So it'll work. So now I've got 50 people I've got to try and entertain and teach. It has. So I'm thinking next year, instead of doing lots of little sing-along ones, I'll just do one big one in the town hall. And it means I've still got to do the tidying up, but the tables and chairs will all be set out for me, and I can just tidy up and walk away. So I'm going to have to go to Aldi every night this week and pick 5 bottles of Prosecco up, because I reckon if I walk in and want 15 bottles straight away, they'll limit it.
How much is that?
£4.45 a bottle. Well, it is, because normally for these classes we get them from Tesco's with a club card. It's like £6.90 or something. But when I was in Aldi last week, I saw them for £4.45, and it's quite good stuff. But I thought, I can't just buy 15. I bet they won't let me buy 15. I'll try tonight, and if they don't, I'll buy 5, and then I'll go back tomorrow night and buy 5, and then I'll go back on Thursday night and buy 5.
So it's quite a lot of supermarkets have this 25% discount for
Yeah.
half a dozen or whatever it is. You've got to look at what the price is in the first place.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting with the Tesco one, that with their club card, they had their more expensive one at like $9.99 was on offer for $6.50 with a club card. So you'd be daft not to.
Yeah.
Because we get through about 4 bottles a night when we do our classes.
Mind you, this club card thing's a bit of a con.
I don't like it.
You can walk into somewhere like Sainsbury's, and it could be the dearest supermarket in the country if you don't use your their loyalty.
I know. I mean, I know they do it just to get more sales.
Yeah, but they also know that there's probably as much as 15 to 20% people going there with a card.
No. Well, when I was in Tesco's not so long ago, big Tesco's, one of the cashiers said to me, have you got a Tesco card? I said, yeah, I have. They said, do you mind if we tap it for this gentleman so we can get some of the savings? Because you'll get the points. And I went, yeah, I don't mind, because it doesn't really bother me.
Oh, so you can still get the savings on something?
Yeah. As long as it's got a club card, it knocks it off. So I've done it for a few people before now, because, you know, it saves a heck of a lot of money for some things.
It's like the automated tills as well. Using the card is difficult on it. I always queue up.
I try when I do my big shop, wherever I am, whether I'm in Waitrose, Tesco's, Aldi, I try to pay cash. Where I can, because I can budget better. But also I don't want to lose cash.
No.
I don't think we will ever totally lose it, but I think.
They'd love us to, I think.
Oh, it's just to make the banks richer, isn't it? Really, that's.
Get a load of staff and that.
Yeah. I'm just going to put a wash over the curb now, just so. Basically, what I'm doing that for is so the cat stays blacker then. So hopefully the cat will remain just the colour of the. That's the same purple, because I'm just dulling it down.
That's it.
Because it was just too black. And it'll help the cat stand out. We've lost the cat again for a minute. It looks quite weird at the moment, doesn't it, with all of this.
Changing shape because of the edges.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can finish off at the end.
But we will put yellow glows on. You see, mine isn't as severe as it looks. It looks like I've got like a very strong line there. But if I try and grade it a little bit more, maybe that will help. I don't know. I've been querying the Banbury Guardian on Facebook today because they've.
Pretty inaccurate about
It is, but they've posted letters from the readers that talk about how rubbish and dead the town is, and someone said the town isn't that dead, and they've gone, yes, but that's just somebody's opinion from the readers, and I've replied as the shop, but is it helpful at a time when we need shoppers the most? You know, saying there's no point in coming into town, kind of thing. Oh, I've got a parcel. All right, I'm just going to nip downstairs.
Shopping for. I mean, you know, the person just wants their groceries and that.
Yeah. We've got quite a lot of shops in town, but you've just got to walk around to find them, that's all. Right, I'll be back in a second. Oh, actually, what drink do you want? Is it
I'll have Americano.
black Americano?
Yeah.
Ordered our drinks that we're doing now. These are paper cups that we have for the painting Prosecco class. We used to have them in Prosecco glasses, but when they finish, they are, because I can't get them from anywhere else. No. When the class finishes at 9 o'clock on the evening and I have to tidy up, if I've then got a wash up, sometimes I'm not home till 10, half 10 anyway in the evening. So having the paper cups, it just means just bung them all in the bin bag.
It's like, well, I see you don't want. It's like a lot. It's like sugar from there. You know, there's saturated.
Yes.
And a really good price as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
How's yours looking online? It's what's really fascinating is because I'm doing the time lapse on my phone. Looking at my phone, it's really purple.
Yeah.
Looking at the screen, it's the colour that I want it to be.
Yeah.
But we're sort of saturating the colours. We have got there is a way we can dull it down later with a bit of charcoal if it
yeah,
because that might work.
I was gonna try, yeah. And
Dab it off.
So I was on a bit of light.
Because we've still got the glow to put on.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Such service. We've got our tea all ready.
Scheduled today.
We are 10 minutes ahead. Crack open a biscuit. Sometimes you just need a chocolate biscuit, don't you? Trouble is, this year my Wardington art group got me a nice snack hamper that they all bought, which is lovely. But I've got to pace myself with it because it's there and it's all stuff that I wouldn't normally buy myself. So I've just got to try and forget I've got it.
Like me if it's there, you use it,
I do, and then I feel really annoyed because then the time will come and I'll think, oh, I've got those snacks.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I ate them all in one night.
No. Like you sort of drink more at Christmas because people are always drinking. Oh, I'll just have one of those. I'll just have one of those. So it goes on.
Trouble is, I've got loads of like half-finished bottles from last year. Because I live on my own, I don't drink a lot.
Oh, I see. It depends what it is. Some things I probably would finish off. Others I do stay.
Yeah, these are gin liqueurs, so they should be all right. But I've got more now to add to it, so I'm just gonna have to. I need that week between Christmas and New Year, so I can just not drive because I'll be just drinking and drinking and drinking. I've got some lovely drinks. For my birthday, somebody bought me a gin liqueur of marmalade, and I bet that's quite nice. 'Cause I bet it's quite orangey, like an orange gin liqueur. I like the gin liqueurs because normal gin's too dry and not sweet enough. Because I've got a really sweet tooth, so a gin liqueur is really sweet.
Well, all liqueurs. I mean, it's like Cointreau. That's got a nice sweetness.
Yeah, but I also like port because I just like I love port.
And brandy.
And whiskey.
I don't buy it through. Those sort of things that do go, and I don't, or refuse to buy anymore because I know once I start drinking that sort of thing.
Yeah, they're good for birthday and Christmas gifts, aren't they? Diane's is going better than expected. Well, that's good. I think. I'm hopeful that I can erase my drawing of the cat, and I'll still be able to see it roughly. I can see it on my screen here, but not on here. So what I want to do is go with a smallish brush, flat all round, and I want to indicate where the brighter lights are.
The bubbles.
Yeah. So I'm going to do 2 in a circle. And then dilute that colour slightly so it's not as bright for the others, and dilute further and further down the street. You don't always know that you've diluted it enough until it dries with acrylics. These two I want really opaque. It looks weird already. I love it. When we added the Christmas lights on last night's picture, and then we'll add some glow. It's just really lovely. I do love painting, which is a good job in a way. But there are days when I don't want to paint. And sometimes they are on days when I've got classes. And then I think
That's probably the job, isn't it?
it is. Because just because I've recorded one of our popular video reels about this, because just because you're artistic, it doesn't make you any less artistic if you don't feel like painting. You can't be expected to just paint all the time. There are some people that say you should push through that, but in my experience I find it puts you off even more because you're not into it. You're not going to get the results that you want.
No, and in a class, people expect you to do that thing every time, and you don't.
Yeah. But we have had people that have really not really felt in the mood, and then they've turned up to class, and it's because it's made them feel better and more creative for whatever they've got going on in their life.
Well, that's right. I think it takes your mind off what is happening.
Absolutely.
But although there's a frustration side to painting, of course. But
Yes.
That's different.
It is.
That's at the moment, isn't it?
But one of my students last night said her husband says that she's always comes back from class in just more relaxed and calm than when she went,
Oh, right.
which is nice. That's what we want to see. I've had to staple mine down, even though we're not using loads of paint today, but if it's not stapled down, it'll just move around, and it's not good for you to see the camera. If suddenly my cap's at an angle like that, it won't help you.
Well, I always like to turn the page around.
You know what I do? If I'm painting normally, I don't stick it down, or I'll stick it to a smaller board so I can move it around. Because there are certain things that I do have a difficulty here because I only have a small space for teaching. I can't get my elbows around because I've got cameras in all directions, so it's really quite tricky. I had another teacher after lockdown. They came and they said, "Oh, can we see your room, because we're doing classes online and we want to see." And I showed them my setup, and they went, "Is that all the space you use to teach from?" And I said, "But the more space I have, the less space I can get students in." So it's a financial thing, really. I could have the fanciest desk in the world, but if I can only get 3 students in, it's not really cost effective.
I think people think normally everyone has this big studio, but they don't.
No. I mean, this is our studio, my own studio, our classroom, our office, our cupboard,
That's
a
right.
stock room. It's
When you know where everything is.
I do until I tidy up Paul, and then when I tidy up, I can't find a single thing.
And then the thing you don't want, you bump into the following
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. I just wait for these dots to dry. I might have to lighten these dots again.
Yeah, because they do dull, don't
They do, because we're going to put some glazes now.
But at least we know where they are.
Yeah, exactly. But other than the glow, we're almost done. It might be a slightly shorter lesson today, but I knew that would happen with the subject matter and with it being the last class. But I think it's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
It's a bit like the fire breather guy that we did. Did any of you online do the fire breather live, or was it just me and you, Paul? I can't remember. I don't know if we had anyone live with us. Some of you might have done it afterwards. I gave it to because it was, you know, Roger the tattoo guy upstairs. It was actually of his friend.
Yeah.
So I gave it to him as a gift.
Yeah, that was the one.
Oh, that looks cracking. That does. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't too. It was. Got the effect. It knew.
Rosemary was like, yes, it was horrid, but Diane was like, yeah, I did. I liked it. It was a Marmite painting, that one.
That's right. It was. Wasn't it?
And this is a bit like that. And last night's with the Christmas trees the same, because you have to work in a different way, don't you? Because we've already got the dark, and now we're adding the light. A painting like this would work well in pastels and gouache, but it would be a nightmare in watercolour. You'd just be using buckets of Payne's Grey. Oh, and the book stack with the black background. Yes, we did in watercolour class. We did a stack of books, but they're slightly on the edge. So not the full length of the books, and it had a very dark background to bring the books forward. I'd just like to give you different things, because that was watercolour, wasn't it? And we had to use tons of Payne's Grey for that. Right. So, what I think I'm going to take advantage that we're using watercolour paper, and I'm going to wet a whole chunk of this around my glowy bits and around where this silhouette of houses are that most of you won't have drawn because you can't even see it, and it doesn't have it in the picture, and it's something that I made up. So this will possibly dry, but I think potentially it'll prepare the paper, because we've got to put our glows on, and I want the glows to really spread. It should work in the same way, Rosemary. Yes, it should do, because basically you're wanting to let the paint run. So it will work. We have done this on acrylics before, but you'll probably need less water than I'm using, because basically what you want it to do is just to prepare your paint so it spreads. And then if I switch, I'm going to make a runny orange from yellow and red, a yellowy orange, and that's going to be a runny glaze. I think I'm going to have to add a tiny bit of white to that. And I tend to go with a brush far smaller than I should. It is, and then I think, why am I doing that with that brush? So I'm going to paint a glow around. So the whole size of this is about the size of a 10p piece so far. There is a bit of white in this, and it's fairly runny but not overly. And what you'll notice is that in the photo the glow is actually not central to the light, because it's slightly lower than the blob. And then as I run out of paint, we can start looking at where the other bits are in here. But I'm also going to try and think of I didn't wet down this bit. But yeah, when you're wetting acrylic paper in this way, you just don't want to use as much water as we are, because it won't ruin anything, but you just don't need to. And then if I do some neat yellow on its own around the edge of this, but runny, everything's runny, and this should sort of dissipate out. Well, I like that word, dissipate. And it should give me the scope to hint. Now it will almost certainly dry darker, and that's, do you know what, I'm not going to worry about that so much. Now, it's so frustrating. You can't see this on the camera, but this is all yellow here. I don't know if it will dry that colour or whether it will go dark, but this is all yellow. How annoying. I might have to go with a tiny bit of white in, just so you can see this. I might have to brighten. The trouble is I want to brighten the orangey bit up as well, but if I have too much white when I brighten that up, it goes pink. Because this is really beautifully blended in real life, but the camera's not showing that blend. It's just showing the extremes. In terms of tutoring, working on black paper is a nightmare because the camera freaks out so much. No, it looks nothing like it should. However, I always persevere because I know that the finished piece will look good, or better than it does currently. So it may feel like yours isn't working because it doesn't look like mine, but mine doesn't look like mine from what you can see. So it just has to feel a bit more radial, I guess. And I'll probably have to put a bit more white back in the centre. And then that will sort of also appear on the pavement in front of the cat. fact, on acrylic paper you might get a bit more working time than we have. I'm going to let this dry. Should I or should I fiddle with that glow a little bit more? And soften it out. That's better. Get the hairdryer on this. So I don't know if you see, because we're working on paper, if I dry it then rework it, it'll be better than if I keep persevering, because I'll end up going through the paper. I just need to get a bit more glow. Right, let that dry naturally. Now on the screen you're only seeing the lurching between that bit and that bit, but on my paper I know that there is. However, I will try and rectify that. I'm going to drink my tea first. I really want this to work. It's always the way, isn't it, on the ones that you want to work? So I've gone a little bit thicker, so mine's dried to enable me to go a little thicker, and I'm hoping that I can do a little bit more blending. I'd like a bit more orange. So I've got, my paint isn't necessarily really runny, but it's wetter than we normally would paint. Soften the edge with water before it dries. This is probably the fiddliest bit, getting your glow, and it's because it's not what we normally do. It will be trying to get your paint the right consistency for this effect, which doesn't mean it's the same consistency that we've used for anything else in the past. if it's too wet, it'll just go too transparent and you'll lose that glow. If it's too dry, it's too opaque and you lose that glow. So it's actually probably better to keep letting it dry naturally and going back in, and letting it blend out naturally and then go back in to get that more subtle blend. So it is a bit like when we did the fire eater. And it's okay if you need to swear at me online, because I can't hear you. Paul, you can't. You can think it. Yeah, you can think it. Because it's misty, what is okay is, and it's got like that cold feel to it, you will have got those frost rings, so it's okay if you've got harder edges or swirly Van Gogh style lines. That's okay, to be honest, with something like this. It's okay. And normally I'd be using a much bigger brush, but I'm being a little bit tentative with some of this because I don't want it to totally go everywhere. I do want to put, because I know I've created this sort of effect of houses, but where the lights are, I do need to soften them a little, because they're also going to have a little bit of light. But what would be really interesting that we could do is maybe have one of these houses with a light on in the window. Do you know what I mean? That could be going too far, and you might go, jog on, Barry. But I'll do it anyway later, and you can see whether you hate it or not. Trish, are you looking forward to doing this? And Christine. What does not show in the photograph does not get painted. Fair enough, Rosemary. Fair enough. You know I just like showing you different ways of doing things. I don't expect you all to follow blindly on everything I do. But I just know that you'll think, oh, well, that's interesting. I'll think about that the next time. I might do an animation on this one as well, because that'd be quite fun to do, actually. No, that's fair enough. I mean, because of it being a very specific picture like this, just go with what you can see. You know I don't have any issues with that, really. I'm only teasing. Because I've been doing this for a long time. Not this painting, obviously, but I've been doing painting for a long time. It will be challenging, Christine. Not necessarily in a horrible way. Because, you know, when you look at the amount of paper we're not going to be painting today, it's challenging in the sense that you've got hardly any light in this, which are only the light from the lamps, and with that means that you can't really deviate. I may well put a light on in the houses. Just in one house or something. But because the problem with acrylics, unless you're spending an extortionate, and I mean an extortionate amount of like £20 to £30 for a tube of paint, the yellows are always fairly transparent. So you need a bit of white. Well, there are two things you can do, actually. You can either mix the white with the yellow, which will give you a more milky tone, or you can actually put a white thing down and then paint on top. Oh, I kind of do like those lamps. I've put a couple of lights on in the buildings that don't exist, and I kind of like that. You know, it just makes it look like something is there. Right, I'm going to leave that for a second, and I might have to put a bit more yellow in my foreground. Have I got any tea left? I have. Sometimes a challenge is good, isn't it? And sometimes a challenge is hateful.
You've got to let it dry, or you rub out some.
You'd exactly.
Extra colours I put in and they're gone.
I know. I've lifted off a few things a few times now, so I'm going to just leave it for a minute to see how we get on, and then add a bit more glow. You see, I've got glow here, but it's not showing up, so I might have to add a bit more glow, because it's amazing when you look at the photograph. It kind of comes right the way, and the glow encompasses all of these lights, but I don't want to lift off the colour at the moment, and we've got plenty of time. Because the the main character or the focal point is actually the cat, isn't it? So
That's what yours is still standing out. Mine not near the way to this up, but
because he's in silhouette, isn't he, that
yeah,
cat?
I've got to put some more. Of course, you've put a lot more yellow around the top, which has made it yellow.
Yeah, I've put a yellow glow on, and it kind of is in the photo, but I think I might have to put put a little bit more, even if it's mainly around the cat, because all the light is on this one side. But yeah, it is kind of challenging in the sense, especially when you I know what should work because of experience. Most of you won't have that, so you're just having to hope that I'm not lying through my teeth. Add a bit more water to, so basically whenever I do anything for the light, I just add more water to the outside edge, and that sort of pushes it out even more. It's a bit like when we create mist and fog. You can build up a layer and it still remains, and then you can mist over the top of that when that's dry, and that creates another layer. In one sense, those of you that are working on canvas that's painted black, you've got it slightly easier than us, because your colours will be the same as your background will be the same colour as your paint. Whereas for us, if we put black paint on, it will give us a different tone than the colours that we use. So it's slightly different, not worse, but different. And it's definitely one picture where I find it easier to let a bit dry, go over, and let a bit dry with a slightly damp to wet brush, just to give me softer edges. I should have enough dry covering on there so I can go a bit more orange around the lights, just with cad red, no, well, the yellow and the, it's not cad red, is it? It's lemon yellow, with with yellow and red. Which is all part of this layering process. Oh, I've got somebody in the shop. I'll be back in a second. That might give me a chance to dry. Maybe. It's looking not horrendous. doing? Do we hate it? Do we love it? Do we not?
It's where the effect can change quite quickly. I am struggling.
Let's have a,
Like I
let's,
say, it's
let's
been
have a
a
look.
learning curve.
You know what? That's not bad. I think you could probably go with a bit more yellow.
Yeah, I've gone too.
So do you know now that's
white.
white? When that really dries, if you just put normal yellow over the top, it'll brighten it up.
Yeah.
Which is what I've been doing here.
Yeah. I tell you, I said
Because you've got your under.
Too wet and
Yeah.
the colour in.
You've got your underpainting, so in theory,
Yeah.
this should work. Let me just, now I've got all of the moisture off. If I just show you this in real life, don't panic if you look up and it's not there.
Yeah. You've got the colour much better on it. Yeah.
But it's only because I keep going over it
Yeah,
every time it
yeah,
dries. I go
yeah,
over with neat
yeah.
yellow.
Yeah, you've got a better pattern than me as well.
That was the hardest part, getting that
Fading
swirly
pattern,
bit.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Fading that pattern,
Yeah. But you know, like if I get a patchy bit, let me see if I can find a slightly wetter. So neat yellow is fairly transparent,
Yeah.
but when you go over, it kind of is useful as a blend
Yeah. And then
tool.
rub it out of it.
Yeah, and then a damp brush. You might find having two brushes on the go quite helpful.
I've used a little bit of a sponge to rub it out.
Oh yeah, good idea. I think it's the fluidity of the water that's the...
Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it?
Because you don't want a soaking wet brush,
No, but you've got.
but it's got to have enough moisture on to do what you need it to. I am really looking forward to what you do. I think you'll be surprised, Rosemary, when you see the finished result from a distance. It's one of these things, isn't it, where from a distance. Mine isn't that good from a close-up, Rosemary. It is a challenge. It is a challenge today. I think I'll quit while I'm ahead, you know. I think it's something that is an interesting thing. Now in pastels it could work really nicely because you can get the subtle blend, but that's where the challenge lies in acrylics, in that you haven't got that option. And how do you get in oils? It would still be tricky, but it's because the paints stay wetter for longer. You've got that option. But anywhere where you've got these sort of areas of light and the glow, so I'll probably have to photograph this under the table again and then edit the colours slightly so it looks like it should, but in doing that it looks better than it does in real life. But look, if I zoom it, let me turn that off. If I zoom in, you can really, it's going to react badly with the camera, but you can kind of see it. It's not perfect in terms of brush strokes, but I think it'll be all right. I think it should be all right, but again, it is a tricky one. Do you want to see yours on the screen, Paul?
Well, I've got a way to go really. I haven't done the. I don't think it'll be great. Well, you can try it. It might be even worse.
Well, you never know. Thank you. Right, Paul, let's have a look.
Yeah, it's a blurryish look, isn't it?
It is. It's more out of focus. It's a soft focus one, but
Yeah.
you have got your glow of your
Yeah,
lights.
that's because
Hang on.
I've tried to make the. Yeah, the glow's not right though. It's no.
I think you're there with it. It's just really tricky to get all of those layers. It is tricky,
Yeah.
but I think you've done well because it is tricky.
Like I say, it's been a learning curve.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
really got to do more detail than what I did. It's just trying to get the shading, and you
It
tend to take
is.
the detail out when you do that.
You do absolutely,
and
and
that's the problem. Yeah.
it is tricky.
Yeah. I think I'll use my fingers more than anything else.
Nothing wrong with that.
Of course, every time I do that, that's when I take the brush strokes away a bit. That's the problem. Just put them right there.
Yes, Diane says yours is very ghostly, and I agree
That's
with
a
that.
compliment.
It is quite haunting.
Yeah, I've washed out the detail. That's been the problem.
It is haunting, but that in itself is not a bad thing.
Yes, it certainly needs to rethink. I think I've changed the slightly the shape of the cap as well.
So yes, I will. I look forward to seeing what you do because I can't do any more to this. Let me see if I can turn my lamp off. Does that make any difference? Not really.
I would probably like to start again, but then I might have got Kevin to do the same thing.
Well, you could.
easily fall into a.
You can, but if you did it on painting your canvas black,
Yeah.
your acrylic paper black, that will react in a different way
Wouldn't
again.
it? Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And as you say, it might be better on linear actually.
well, yes, because the black paint you use, if you need to touch up, will still be the same colour black.
Yeah,
Whereas if
that's
I
right.
put black paint on here,
Yeah.
it's going to have a different effect than the black paint of the black colour of the paper. So it's very different. So we have finished about 10 minutes early, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So our next, don't forget the acrylics next year go fortnightly.
Yeah.
So
I
it
will look into that over
starts
Christmas.
on the 2nd of January with a the whole first week of January is going to be skill builders of a crowd scene.
Oh, well,
So how to
that's
do
challenging.
layers of people.
Yeah, that might be
So it's the 2nd, 16th, 30th of January.
The only thing is, a few people will be shying away from that. As
I
well.
know, but it's a good. The trouble with the skill builders is they're really good challenges that help you
Yeah.
progress. I think.
Well, I enjoyed doing the eyes with the eyes.
Yeah.
You
can
get
really go with
the
those.
expression, which is quite good when you're doing.
Well, it is. I mean, if you're doing portraits, it's all about the eyes,
Yeah,
really,
it's
isn't it?
really-
That's what.
That's the focus point.
Yeah,
Focal point.
exactly. So for you online, thank you for this year. It's been really lovely to have you join us. And Diane, I hope you're going to carry on next year. It's been lovely to have you with us from Cumbria. And Christine and Rosemary and Trish. I always enjoy my classes. I really do. So maybe if you want to paint, if you want to do art every week next year, and acrylics is fortnightly, you could dip in online to some of the other classes as well. Try your hand at pastels or drawing or watercolour or calligraphy, anything really. See how you get on. So take care. Have a really good Christmas if you're doing anything. If you're not, have a really good time doing nothing. If you're into Yule, have a nice Yule. Whatever you're celebrating, if you're celebrating, just enjoy yourself. And we'll be back in the new year. So take care. Thank you for your support this year. Bye everyone. Bye.